Hey guys, it's Hindash. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with Timmy, and today's look is kind of unplanned because I thought it was going to be like a full-blown lavender lilac with like fluttery lashes. But I mean, of course, I ended up loving it. But yeah, I mean, I never really plan my makeup looks or the tutorials that I do. And this is the look on my beautiful model, Annie, who you can see here. So yeah, this look is kind of like a cut crease that has a bit of like a peachy brown that's going into a lilac. And we went very light on the skin, very fresh. I used the tinted moisturizer and then spot concealed. So it's a great summer skin look. There is a part 2 to this look, which I'm very excited about because it's kind of the complete opposite, but it is an eye focused look that I posted on Instagram. So if you guys follow me there at Hindash, you would have seen it. And if you don't, follow me there because I post a lot of my looks before they come on Instagram. So yeah, if you want to see how to create this look, then please keep watching and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Alright, so here we have the beautiful Annie, and I'm going to be starting off with skincare as usual. And I feel like this video has a lot of focus on skin and how I do base, and I really like how that turned out because I do a lot of pinpoint concealing and keeping the base very, very light. So I'm just going to go ahead and tone her face with a toner and put a hyaluronic acid serum on top of that. And I love this one by SkinCeuticals, it's so good. And then I'm going to put a bit of lip balm. This is the Laura Mercier Hydrating Lip Balm. And then for my active serum, I'm going to be taking the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Vitamin C Serum. And I'm going to just apply that all over the skin. And this is going to really brighten her skin. And it's very light. It's summer here, so I don't want to put anything too heavy. So I'm relying on a lot of serums and gels after. And for my last moisturizer, I'm taking the Ole Henriksen C Rush Brightening Gel Cream. And I'm going to be applying that all over the skin again. And then massaging it in. And make sure it sinks in nicely into the skin and going down the neck as well. For eye cream, I'm going to be trying out the Laura Mercier Illuminating Eye Cream, and I'm putting a bit of that under the eyes. Actually, I'm kind of going a bit heavy with that because she does have a bit of dry skin around her eyes. So I'm just applying that and tapping it in and letting it sink in nicely. For primer, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Primer in the Perfecting kind. And this is just going to even out the skin. It's going to kind of blur things, and it doesn't have any silicone, so it's not going to feel very heavy on the skin. It feels like a gel. Alright, moving on to base. I'm going to be taking the Nude Sticks Tinted Cover in Nude 3.5. Now, this is a tinted moisturizer. It's super light. It's perfect for summer or for anyone that doesn't like to wear foundation and just wants to even out their skin tone. So this kind of product is great for that, and I'm taking it with a brush all over the face in very thin layers. I mean, you can't really overdo this anyway. So I'm not relying on this to cover her skin. As you can see, we're gonna go in with that later, but I just wanna even out the tone and make sure it's unified so that I can see what I need to conceal. So I can see any imperfections that are left behind, and that way I can just go in with those individually instead of masking her entire face. For concealer, I'm taking the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Concealer in the shade 210. And what I'm doing with this concealer is, yes, I am going to be concealing, but I'm also going to be brightening and highlighting her face. So I'm putting that in areas where I want to kind of bring forward and add more light and make her look very fresh. And I'm going to be blending that in with a damp beauty blender and just tapping it in and not really tugging much at the skin because I want to keep that coverage where it's going. So I'm going underneath the eyes, on the chin, tapping that on the forehead, around the nose, on the inner corners of the eyes and around the eyes, and on the jawline. And as you can see, it already looks like her skin is super fresh. It looks very perfected, but it doesn't look heavy. It doesn't look cakey. It's not masked. And that's why this technique is amazing. And even with foundation, I like to treat a foundation as a tinted moisturizer. For bronzer, I'm taking the Fenty Beauty Cream Bronzer in Macchiato, and I love these bronzers. I've been using them so much, and what I like to do is I like to tap it around the areas where I would bronze and then just blend it in and buff it in gently. Now, as you can see, as I do this, some of the imperfections might peek out again, which is completely fine. I'm going to go in with pinpoint concealing after, so I'm not too worried about anything kind of peeking out. As long as I have that very thin layered base, I'm good. For my pinpoint concealing, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage Concealer in SC2. This is one of my favorite concealers for pinpoint concealing because it is a cream. You kind of have to work it to warm it up, and it's so good. The coverage is perfect. It never looks heavy or cakey. Once you get this, you're going to feel like it is very dry, but you just have to work it up and kind of activate it. And by doing that, I'm taking a tiny kind of lip brush, a tiny concealer brush, and just going in the areas where I need to kind of pinpoint conceal and tapping it in and blending the edges. Such a good product to work with. I mean, it kind of does it for you. And to set everything, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Powder, and with a fluffy brush, I'm just going to be tapping it over the areas where I want to set. So I'm not really baking, I'm not doing anything too crazy with this, I'm just kind of gliding it over the skin. So we get a very seamless base and we still have that nice glow coming through, but everything is set and that concealer isn't really going to move around. For blush, I'm going to be taking, you guys know this is one of my all-time favorite blushes. These are the Nude Sticks Nudies Matte. And I'm going to be mixing the shade Nude Peach with the shade Beach Babe. And that way I kind of create a mix of a shade just because I felt like it. And I'm going to be placing it and tapping it high up on the cheeks and bringing it into the cheeks. And what I love about this blush is it doesn't lift the foundation. You just need to tap it in, and it is one of my favorite blushes. You guys know this. And as always, I like to do this with my foundation brush because the brush already has a bit of foundation in it. So it is going to help in blend that blush into the foundation and into the skin seamlessly. And to set that, I always love to set my cream blushes with powder blushes. And I'm using the NARS Gina blush, which is a really nice kind of muted peach blush, and just placing that over the cream blush and bringing it slightly more into the apples of the cheeks because it's kind of going to diffuse very nicely. And again, doing the same with bronzer, I'm setting it with a powder bronzer, and this is the NARS Laguna Matte Bronzing Powder. And just going over the areas where I've done the cream bronzer, so cheekbones and around the forehead, nose, and jawline. And that way you just kind of create that interesting depth and dimension to the face. For highlighter, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Face Illuminator in the shade Devotion, which is kind of a pinky pearl color because I do want to go with more cool tones on the eyes. So I've kind of thought of using a more cool toned highlight and placing that high up on the cheekbones, and it really looks beautiful. I really like this highlighter. I haven't used it much, but it is a great highlighter. And I'm going on the tip of the nose and on the bridge of the nose, the Cupid's bow. And it just gives that beautiful wet shine without it being too crazy and too much. For an eyeshadow base, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Caviar Stick in the shade Vanilla Kiss. And I'm going to be applying that all over the lid. Now, this is a super light color, so I do want to blend and diffuse it out. And I'm doing that with a fluffy brush, and it's blending really nicely. So I just want that really light base because I do want to go for more pastel tones. And when I think of pastels, I think of putting down a light base so that you get that true color. And setting that with a light cream shadow that matches, and this is the MAC Powder Kiss eyeshadow in the shade Best of Me. And I always love setting the eyes with a nude shadow that matches so that when you go in with your eyeshadow, it's not just going to drag. For my cream shadow base, I'm taking the NYX Vivid Brights cream color in the shade Sugar Rush. It actually went on really light, much lighter than I imagined, so I am going to be setting it with a more lilac color to match the color that I'm thinking of. And for that, I'm using the Natasha Denona Tropic palette and taking that lilac in the palette. So I'm just going to be kind of pressing and going over that with that shadow. And I really love the color that this created. So originally I wanted this to be kind of a one color lilac that's kind of blown out and smoky, but I thought it would be nice to kind of keep the lid free and bare so that it would open the eyes. And now I'm going in with a smaller brush just to get in more detail and be more precise when I'm fading that into the crease and blending out the edge. I want a bit of that pearl shimmer, so I'm taking the Laura Mercier Caviar Stick in the shade Pearl and putting that on the inner corners. And this kind of goes with the highlighter color that I went with, but it's much more intense. So I'm just putting that on the inner corners, and then I'm going to be blending it in and out into the inner crease. And then with the brush, I'm going to be fluffing that out and blending it to connect with the lilac crease, sort of, but keeping that middle part free because I'm going to put in another color. And this way it's just more interesting when she turns and you get that nice highlight. And I'm going to be setting that with the highlighter that I use on her face as well. For my muted brown shade, I'm taking the MAC Powder Kiss eyeshadow in the shade What Clout. And with a small brush, I'm going in on the lower lash line just to kind of tie that in with the lilac. So we have a bit more dimension to work with. And I'm just going to really smudge that in and blend it in. I'm going to smoke it out even further throughout the video, but for now, this is the shape that I'm building up with. And I'm going to put that in the crease as well, connecting it with the lilac and a bit with the shimmer. And as you can see, that already gives her eyes much more shape and it really enhances them. And going in with a fluffy brush, I'm going to be blending that up into the brow bone so that it diffuses really nicely. And I love the dimension that this gives the eyes. And to fluff out that lilac even a bit more, I'm taking a bit of the lilac shade on a fluffy brush and just blending that out. Again, nothing too crazy, just blending it further out. For mascara, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Caviar Volume Panoramic Mascara, and I'm just going to let her apply that to her lashes. And Annie has really great lashes, so I actually didn't really need to apply any individuals because it looks so beautiful and I didn't want to overdo it with the colors and lashes. For brows, I'm taking the Nude Sticks Eyebrow Stylus pen in the shade Brown Black. And I'm using that very lightly. It is a very foolproof pencil. I really like it. And I'm just going to go in and fill in the gaps without completely covering and blocking up her brows. So with brows, I really like to see a bit of skin coming through and I don't like it to be all covered up. So I'm just perfecting the outside shape, so along the top and the bottom, and then combing through her brows and using the gel side of the pen to kind of set everything and keep it in place and fluff them even more. And just brush through them and keep things very neat. For contour, I'm taking the Dior Backstage Contour Palette and I'm going to take that on the tip of the nose. I really like to contour the tip of the nose. I feel like it makes a really nice difference. And I felt like I could accentuate the eyes even more with a very thin line of black that kind of swoops out. And I'm taking the Fenty Beauty Flyliner Longwear Liquid Eyeliner. And with the brush, I'm going to be smudging that out very lightly. And I'm taking the Shiseido eyeliner, which has that very tiny tip that I talked about, which I love. And I'm just going to go in with the tiny details and perfect things. And what I've been loving doing is taking a liner brush and dipping it into a black shadow. This is the MAC Carbon Shadow. And then going over that liner and it really intensifies it and makes it very matte and very powdery. And going in with the inner corners as well, just to give it more of an interesting edge. For lips, I kind of struggled to find the perfect lip combo. I'm taking the MAC Boldly Bare Lip Pencil all over the lips. And this color really suited her and I think it really matches her lip color, but I wanted something with a bit more dimension. So I go over it with the MAC Powder Kiss Liquid Lip Color in Date Maker, but then I felt it was very flat and everything was just a bit too flat, but it is a beautiful color. So then I try to add more dimension with a bit of MAC Spice Lip Liner on top. And then I think I overlined her lips too much and it was a bit too much. Beautiful, but I just didn't feel it for the look. So then I blotted everything down and went with the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy, and this was the winning combo for me. I think it was just missing gloss. And the gloss kind of really tied it in. It made her lips look very healthy. It accentuated her Cupid's bow and I love it. So I'm just going to be touching up the blush. And I'm going to be taking that nude eyeshadow with a fluffy brush and I'm just going to be kind of smudging that and smoking it underneath the lower lash line. Like I said, just to give it more dimension and more depth. And further up into the crease, into the brows. And that completes the look. I really hope you guys enjoyed this and you can kind of replace the lilac with any other color that you want. I think it's a really fun way to play and to add color into your looks. And yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe down below and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye.